when you think about the medieval period, what usually comes to mind? Probably not intellectual dynamism, right? More like the Dark Ages.
Yeah, that's the standard picture. Stagnation, slow progress. But it completely misses this incredible um, state-funded hub of knowledge.
A hub that didn't just hold on to old ideas, but actually, like, turbocharged them.
Absolutely. We're talking ninth century Middle East. They weren't passive librarians for Greek or Indian texts. They weaponized knowledge almost, saw intellectual power as crucial, strategically.
Okay, let's get into this. The sources we're looking at today show an institution that acted almost like a knowledge shortcut for the whole medieval world. It sped things up by centuries.
We're diving into the Bayt al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom in Baghdad.
Right. And our mission here is to explore how this place, the engine of the Islamic Golden Age, wasn't just a library. It was more like a systematic R&D lab.
Exactly. And for you listening, the big picture is this. It was set up under the Abbasid Caliph Al-Maʻmūn, a very deliberate move to make Baghdad the undisputed center of global thinking.
It started, like a lot of these things, as a private royal library, right? Linked to the Caliph.
It did, initially. But the really crucial thing, the shift, was how fast it became this fully state-funded, non-sectarian powerhouse for translation, education, and new research.
Transforming from storage to a knowledge factory. That's
it. And here's the first really mind-blowing thing from the sources. It was wide open. Scholars came from everywhere: Muslims, Christians, Jews, Zoroastrians.
United just by, what, being smart and wanting to learn?
Pretty much. Intellectual merit. It wasn't just about being tolerant. It was strategic. Get the best brains, no matter their background, from the entire known world. A kind of strategic meritocracy.
Let's talk scale. Because the sources make it sound, well, huge, unprecedented.
Oh, it was. It quickly became one of the biggest book collections anywhere in the medieval world, a logistical feat in itself.
But it wasn't just the number of books, was it? It was a variety.
That's what really set it apart. You had Arabic translations right next to the original manuscripts, philosophy, astronomy, medicine, engineering, everything. Baghdad basically became the world's intellectual clearinghouse.
So they were running this, like, global acquisition program, fetching texts from all over.
You got it. Greek philosophy and medicine coming in from Byzantium. You had mathematics, including zero, arriving via Sanskrit texts from India.
Wow.
And administrative know-how from pre-Islamic Persia. They were basically pulling together the best of Eurasian thought under one roof, synthesizing it.
And you mentioned the collaboration earlier. That must have been quite a scene day to day.
Imagine it. You could have a Nestorian Christian scribe carefully translating a complex Greek medical text by Galen, and maybe just nearby. A Jewish mathematician is crunching numbers for planetary orbits using those new Indian numerals, all paid for by the Muslim Caliph.
That just breaks down so many barriers we assume existed back then.
It created a common intellectual language, really. It went beyond local politics or culture.
And the Caliphs weren't just nodding along. They were foot in the bill, big time.
Oh, yeah. This was serious royal investment. People like Al-Maʻmūn knew knowledge was power. They funded it generously to make sure it was fast and top quality.
And they paid translators really well, I read.
Extremely well. That famous story sometimes paying them in gold, matching the weight of the manuscripts they translated.
Gold by weight. That's incredible.
Think about that incentive. While Europe was often fragmented, dealing with local feudal issues, Baghdad was running the hottest market for intellectual talent anywhere.
Paying by weight. It implies the Caliph saw the physical manuscript, the knowledge itself, as inherently valuable and scarce, not just the content.
Exactly. And they didn't just wait for scholars to show up. They sent people out. Emissaries dispatched to places like Constantinople to hunt down rare books.
State-sponsored knowledge hunting.
Pretty much. Salvage and import. Get the fastest track to having better tech and understanding than rivals like the Byzantines.
That level of investment really changes how you'd view translation, doesn't it? It's not just copying words.
Precisely. It became a proper scientific discipline. Super sophisticated. They weren't just swapping languages.
What did that involve?
Well, scholars would meticulously analyze the meaning. They'd gather multiple versions of the original text if they could find them, compare them line by line.
To catch errors.
Yes, and critically, they often corrected errors made by the original authors or resolved contradictions within a text, especially in crucial fields like medicine or math. That takes serious critical thinking.
And the start of this process, the gold standard, seems to be Hunayn ibn Ishaq, a Christian physician.
Hunayn was the benchmark, especially for Greek medicine, fluent in Greek, Syriac, and Arabic. He personally translated or supervised something like over 100 works by Galen and Hippocrates alone.
Wow. And his method was rigorous.
Absolutely. No shortcuts. It was designed to make sure the knowledge lasted.
How did it work?
Okay, so his process often involved getting hold of several Greek copies of a text. Then he'd create a first draft in Syriac, which is linguistically a bit closer to Greek.
Okay, like an intermediate step.
Exactly. And only then would he refine that Syriac draft into the final, polished Arabic version. Plus, he'd add careful notes explaining tricky bits.
That layering shows they weren't just rushing. They knew ancient texts could be corrupted over time and built a system to fix that for longevity.
Right. They were building for the future.
Did this ever cause friction, like comparing different versions, deciding on the right meaning? Could politics or religion sneak in?
That's a really good point. And look, political realities always exist, right? But the sources suggest the main directive from the top, from the Caliphate, was faithfulness to the source and, crucially, utility.
Especially for science and medicine.
Exactly. Usefulness was key. The fact that Hunayn, a Christian, was the star translator under a Muslim caliph shows that competence and accuracy generally trump sectarian issues in the translation work.
And the result?
The amazing result, which later scholars noted, is that these Arabic translations often ended up being more reliable, more internally consistent than the scattered, sometimes damaged Greek originals that survived elsewhere.
So they weren't just preserving, they were actively improving the source material, fact-checking antiquity.
In a way, yes. But the House of Wisdom wasn't just about old books, it was driving new discoveries. Let's talk about astronomy.
Okay, shifting from preservation to innovation.
Right. Al-Maʻmūn set up a proper astronomical observatory. This wasn't just a library corner with star charts, it was for doing science, empirical work.
Meaning they tested the old theories, like Ptolemy's.
Precisely. They weren't just taking Ptolemy's word for it, they were making their own high-precision measurements to see if his models actually matched reality. Active testing.
So using observation to verify theory? That sounds very modern. Centuries before the European Renaissance is usually credited with it.
Exactly. They were meticulously recording how planets moved. They calculated the Earth's axial tilt with remarkable accuracy, refined the length of the solar year.
Why? What was the practical use?
Better calendars, obviously. More accurate timekeeping for prayers and administration. And absolutely vital for navigation across their vast lands and seas.
And a lot of this comes back to one giant figure, right? Muhammad ibn Musa al-Khwarizmi.
Al-Khwarizmi, his impact is just immense. He's where the House of Wisdom really reshaped mathematics globally.
Tell us about his work. The astronomical tables first.
Yes, his Ziyal Sintind. These weren't just academic lists, they were powerful tools. They combined the best data from Indian, Greek, and Persian traditions.
Used for?
Essential for calculating prayer times accurately, planning agriculture, and crucially for standardizing navigation across the Caliphate. Think of it like the essential software package for running the Abbasid world.
And then there's the math itself. He helped bring in the Indian number system.
Yes, including that revolutionary concept. The placeholder for nothing. 0.
Which made calculations so much easier.
Night and day difference. The positional system was a game changer. And then his treatise on solving equations. Well, that essentially created a whole new branch of math. Algebra. Al-Jab, from the title of his book.
And the word algorithm
comes directly from his name. Al-Khwarizmi. Think about that. The core concept behind all modern computing owes its name to him, working in 9th century Baghdad. His legacy is literally embedded in our digital world.
That mathematical power wasn't just for stargazers, though.
Not at all. It immediately impacted practical things, city planning, architecture, accounting, and it demanded, like you said, a more rigorous approach to medicine, too.
And this knowledge didn't just stay in Baghdad.
Absolutely not. That's crucial. These mathematical and astronomical breakthroughs traveled west. They went to Islamic Spain, Al-Andalus.
And from there to Europe.
Exactly. By the 11th, 12th centuries, European scholars, merchants, builders, they were picking up these ideas and techniques. It gave a massive boost to their own developments in navigation, finance, architecture, engineering. The House of Wisdom basically provided the mathematical language for a lot of later global progress.
Let's zoom in on the medical side then.
Yeah.
Because Baghdad wasn't just reading old Greek doctors like Galen, right?
Yeah.
They were doing their own clinical work.
They struck this really effective balance, which was pretty rare back then. Deep respect for the established Greek theories, yes, but combined with a commitment to their own observations and experiments, testing things out.
Building an empirical base.
Yes. laying that groundwork.
And we have famous names associated with this. Abu Bakr al-Razi, or Rises.
Raises is a perfect example of this practical observational approach. He wrote these incredibly detailed, accurate descriptions of diseases like smallpox and measles.
What was so groundbreaking about that?
He clearly differentiated them based on observable symptoms and how the diseases progressed. Clinical observation.
Right.
His descriptions were so good, they became the standard medical references for centuries across many cultures, the go-to source.
And it wasn't just brilliant individuals working alone. The house helped systemize training.
Yes, that's another key part of the legacy. It wasn't just lectures. The house acted as a training hub where medical students worked directly in Baghdad's big public hospitals.
Hands-on experience.
Definitely. Supervised practice. It was basically an early form of medical residency, making sure new doctors learned from real patients, not just ancient books.
So looking at the whole picture translation, astronomy, math, medicine, what's the common thread? What's the big takeaway?
I think it has to be that commitment to intellectual freedom, to putting evidence first, even before established authority.
You mean they'd challenge the big names? Aristotle, Ptolemy.
If the data didn't fit, yes. They cultivated an environment where scholars felt able to say, look, our measurements contradict the old theory. That willingness to question, to prioritize observation, that's the real foundation they laid for scientific thinking that would blossom later elsewhere.
The House of Wisdom is a knowledge highway.
That's a great way to put it. A central hub. Ideas flowed in from India, Persia, Greece. They were refined, tested, corrected in Baghdad.
And then flowed out again.
Exactly. Onward to places like Cairo, Cordoba, in Spain, North Africa, and eventually making their way into Latin Europe. A powerful intellectual current.
But this incredible era, it did come to an end, a very abrupt one.
Tragically, yes. In 1258, the Mongols invaded Baghdad. Hulagu Khan's army.
And the House of Wisdom itself.
Destroyed the buildings, the vast libraries. It gives us that awful, iconic image, the story that so many books were hurled into the Tigris River.
That the water ran black with ink.
Yeah, for days, the legend says. A devastating symbol of cultural loss.
That the knowledge wasn't entirely lost.
That's the crucial point. It's a painful image, but it shouldn't be the final image. Because the house had been so effective for so long.
In spreading the knowledge.
Exactly. The core knowledge, the math, the medicine, the improved astronomy had already been copied, translated, and spread far and wide across the Islamic world and into Europe well before 1258.
So the Caliph's initial investment paid off in the long run. It was decentralized.
In a sense, yes, the physical center was gone, but the intellectual legacy was already distributed. It survived and continued to influence thought for centuries.
So reflecting on this whole story, this huge, successful, centuries-long project, what can it teach us today?
Well, it really makes you think, doesn't it? It poses a question for all of us, for you listening. Imagine if we had that kind of sustained, state-backed, non-sectarian focus on intellectual collaboration today.
Meaning?
The Caliphs treated knowledge as the ultimate strategic resource. What huge global challenges, climate change, disease, resource scarcity, could we tackle if we truly prioritize science over politics?
And funded basic knowledge gathering at that kind of scale, like the Abbasids did.
Exactly. What crucial insights could we uncover or preserve? That commitment to intellectual merit, to funding discovery regardless of background or belief. Maybe that's the most important lesson from Baghdad's House of Wisdom.